Welcome back to Art Giving Hope. This is Dan Preece. Been away for a while. Been doing a lot of stuff related to Art Giving Hope. We changed our focus a while back to raising money and funds and efforts to help support the folks in Tonga who are in great need of improved medical care, and been collecting supplies and shipping them so much that all my free time has been taken up doing that, which is one of the reasons for doing art projects like this in the first place. So it's kind of ironic that took off and it's been too much to allow me to do some of this art, and I've missed it, so I'm back. I don't think I'll ever be done creating art. I enjoy it too much. This piece we're going to call Puzzling. This piece is a piece of wood donated by Dennis Otteson. He sent me a whole bunch of this Carob wood, and it's just fantastic stuff. Very beautiful. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved puzzles, loved putting them together, making them. And this piece has been in the back of my mind for a while. I've been kicking around different ideas, and you'll notice as you watch me make this that I changed my mind on how to do it several times. I had like 3 or 4 different designs I was thinking of, and I may have to revisit this just to explore different options, but the overall idea was to create a piece that showed a puzzle coming together. And in this one specifically, it's kind of being made, passing through space, and then joining a finished puzzle all at the same time. So it's kind of a busy piece and a little chaotic, but I wanted someone looking at it to experience all 3 phases of puzzles: making it, sorting it out, and putting it together. So yeah, we've been to Tonga in July with a group called Amanaki Fo, who does a lot of stuff to help the Tongan people cure the diabetic problem they're facing, as well as treat foot and ankle wounds and infections and things that happen so much with diabetic folks. They have very limited resources, and so we're trying to improve that situation the best we can. To date, with the help of Medical Teams International and just our own efforts here, we have sent, I think we've sent 6 crates, and I've got a 7th sitting in my garage that's pretty much full. We're talking wound vac supplies and topical antibiotics and gauze, tape, scalpels, pickups, all the stuff you might need to carry out wound care, limb salvage type procedures in a hospital or clinic. So it's been great. If it is possible, I would love donations. My pie in the sky goal is to raise $1 million and fund an endowment that would generate interest every year that can be used to do different things in Tonga along these same lines. So if you know anybody with extremely deep pockets, I would love to get a hold of them and fund this thing. If not, we'll do it $10 at a time. So go visit us at Art Giving Hope, and I would love your support. 2 of our really good sponsors. One is TrueMe. It's a safe smartphone for kids. Every time somebody signs up with them, they donate $50 to the cause here, and we greatly appreciate that. Also, Resin is an awesome sponsor. They donated both the clear coat finishing resin as well as the deep pour resin. And you can find them at their website, Let's Resin. The Rotozip is one of my favorite tools for carving. When you need to carve straight in deep pockets, it's powerful tools. You gotta hold on tight. But for this application, it was very useful and kind of fun to do. I only botched a couple of the pieces. It wasn't perfect, but overall, I was actually quite happy with how it came out. One of my goals with Art Giving Hope is to get a small medical team to Tonga once a year for a 2-week trip to help train their physicians and nurses how to do wound care better with all the supplies we're sending them. We also have some awesome people I work with who are donating time and money to do diabetic screening, A1C tests specifically, so we can kind of educate people where they stand in relation to diabetes and hopefully get a nip it in the bud, get an early intervention going. We're hoping a year from now to get there and screen 1,000 graduating high schoolers and early college level individuals, and provide them with a lot of information on diabetes and diabetic foot problems. Hopefully get ahead of it and do more prevention, which goes much further than the actual intervention itself. One of my initial thoughts of this piece was, you'll notice I cut it at a really steep angle here. So I'd have a lip extending up, and I was going to have pieces kind of coming down from one place and settling onto the finished puzzle, which I still really like that idea. And I've been thinking about doing some tables, which would be a really cool table piece. I didn't like the idea of one side being just clear resin and not have anything in it, so I put the chunk back that I cut out and added it still with a bit of a lip angle, which I liked. As you can see, I had a lot of different ideas, but in the end, I like how this came out. I think I'll come back to this another time and take a different swing at it from a different approach. I tell you what's tricky is sanding in tight spots like that. I was employing the Guinevere inflatable ball sander, these flexible shaft sanders in the really tight spots, as well as these press fit cone sanders that fit on a drill. Harder than you think. My go-to mold process is polywall plastic sheeting. You can find it at Home Depot. I just super glue it on to my pieces and put that in plastic bags and put it in a container full of rice, and that tends to create a really tight custom mold to help limit the loss of resin, which of course is quite expensive, and I'm not interested in making any more waste than I need to. One of my regrets in this piece is that when I put this piece back on and cut more pieces out, it left some gaps which I filled, and I used the same sawdust, which usually matches the color quite well, but for some reason this outer edge didn't soak up the resin very well, so it ended up a much lighter color than the areas I filled with sawdust, and even compared to the inside of the bowl, which I'm not entirely sure why that happened. It's possible that I finished the outside too well. Sometimes that doesn't allow the resin to soak in. But anyway, so you can see the filled areas weigh a bit more than I wanted to, but live and learn. I have always liked clear resin around wood. I don't know why, but I'm always drawn to that. I like what it does under light in the dark. It's kind of one of my goals. So getting clear resin is tricky. Let's Resin donated this deep pour resin, which is important because other resins will heat up and boil if you pour them in too thick of layers. So this one allows us to do up to 4 inches thick, but you got to keep your temperatures down. Just so happened I made this piece in early spring here in Utah, and it was quite chilly in the garage, which was perfect. But the 3 stages I go through is I put it in a vacuum chamber. Ideally, I'll run it until it stops making bubbles, which can be a couple of hours. And that's really important. It helps the resin settle into the wood, gets rid of air pockets. But there's always these finely suspended little bubbles that are almost microscopic until you shine light through it, then you can see it. And that's where the pressure pot comes into play. And I'll stick the project in a pressure pot at 50 psi for days and days until the resin's completely set. And I do that in a freezer, a chest freezer that keeps it cool right above freezing, so that it's if I got too thick in areas that the resin won't boil. So temperature control is very important. I put a little fan there to circulate the air so it doesn't get too cold, and I've got little thermostats in there so I know exactly how cold it is. But in hindsight, I should have gotten a fridge, but I needed to be a top loader, and I didn't even know if they had mini fridges like that. So yeah, it's fine. Sure, I could have modified it, but the freezer has worked out just fine. I got it on the lowest setting, and it's barely able to freeze stuff anyway. So a little fan in there circulating the air keeps it at the right temperature. I really like this polywall stuff because it's very thin and soft, and once everything's set up and ready to turn and the resin is set, it just comes right off like butter, just like it feels like I'm just turning the resin. So it's not much of a problem there. But yeah, between the vacuum chamber, pressure pot, at a low temperature, and using the deep pour resin, you can get just about crystal clear resin. And the challenge, of course, after that is to finish it perfectly. And one thing I've discovered recently is using a thin coat type resin that cures quickly. Gives it a very glossy look and hides a multitude of mistakes in the resin. And as you get to the end of this project, you'll see we had some problems on the interior of the bowl. So it's saved my bacon. I find that Forstner bits are awesome for hollowing out bowls. Saves a lot of time and energy and wear and tear on my turning instrumentation. The 2 big upgrades to my equipment besides this Laguna lathe, which is just a beast. The thing doesn't hardly wiggle around with these big heavy projects. The 2 things I've liked the most are the Steady Rest by Carter Products. It's a multi-rest. It's the 3. You'll see here in a minute. The has 3 stabilizing wheels. They keep the project from wiggling around. When I do these resin pieces, because I'm carving out irregular places, the weight's not very well distributed, and so it's really important for safety reasons to keep the thing on the lathe, to have something holding it on there. So that's really important, and I love that. It's really heavy duty. The other piece you'll notice I'm using is this hollowing system by advancedlathetools.com, and their big old handle rest hollowing system is an absolute beast. I don't know how much this bar weighs. It's pretty heavy, 20 pounds at least, and they've designed it so well that you can be way inside a bowl chattering away on and off the resin as it goes through into the wood, which makes for kind of dangerous, uneven work. But with this system and the weight of it and the sheer strength of their engineering, man, that thing is just like butter. And that has been huge. I've tried other things, mechanical arms and things, and they just do not hold up to what I put it through. These pieces are heavy. At first, a piece that big with all the resin in it's probably 20 pounds. And having that thing whizzing around on the lathe is terrifying. And you get one catch and it's game over. So everything has got to be industrial strength, and these two systems have just been performed fantastically. Zero complaints. So happy I upgraded to these. So check them out. Anyways, I'll leave you to it. This is a piece I've been thinking about for a while. When I was getting ready to propose to my wife, I remember using a cheesy line on her. It said something like, dating her and putting our lives together, it felt like putting the last puzzle piece in the puzzle. And it worked, because she married me, and we've been married for 23 years, 4 kids and a mortgage. You know how that goes. So anyway, enjoy. This piece is for sale at artgivinghope.org. The auction will go until it's sold or until I put another piece on there. And 100% of the money goes to helping the folks in Tonga who could use our help with their many wounds, amputations, and other complications that come from unchecked diabetes. They have so little access to health care in terms of insulin and education and all that they could really use a hand. That's what we're aiming to do. So I'll see you on the flip side. Enjoy the rest of this project, and thank you for your support.